Okay, I showed this guy earlier, the Black Terror. Now we're actually going to look at the comics, but before we do, I got to touch on yesterday's video. So here was my action figure for the Claw, and he came with extra arms, and I said, why? Well, look, I don't know if you can see, but after I finished the video, I looked closer, and the extra set of arms does actually have his claws. They're just painted on, but that's fine by me. In fact, this is what he looks like without the robe on. Now, I said, why didn't they give him a belt? You know, if they were going to give him extra stuff. Well, I took a look back through the comics and he doesn't have the belt. I don't know where they got this image from. I guess they just drew it for the action figure, but he doesn't have a belt. You know what he does have though? He has a red robe. He has a red robe in every single appearance. Well, technically not. He has the green robe in his first two appearances, which is Silver Streak issues 1 and 2. You know, he was the star of the comic. But by issue 3, they created the character Silver Streak, and the Claw wasn't in that one. He didn't come back until issue 6 for the debut of Daredevil, and he became Daredevil's arch nemesis. He was in those first 5 stories. It was a full story arc. I covered it all here, and he had his red robe throughout all of it. It's not green, but you know what? I put his extra claw arms on. I put his first and second appearance green robe on without the belt, just like it is in the comic, and I'm pleased with him. I like him. He's cool. Now I'm happy. So let's get to the Black Terror. He made his debut in a comic called Exciting Comics. He made his debut in issue 9. Now this is a comic put out by a company that went by many names. Standard Comics, Better Comics, Needler Comics, Pines. So take your pick. Exciting Comics was an anthology series, has a bunch of stories within, just like Silver Streak. Issue number 1 had on the cover a character named Major Mars. Black Terror was the breakout character. He didn't appear until issue 9. Then he was on the cover from there on out, pretty much. And that's where our story begins. In May of 1941. So he was created by writer Richard Hughes, who was born Leo Rosenbaum. He started writing comics when he was 30 years old, and he created the Black Terror the following year when he was 31. He was a writer and editor of comics as well as radio and television advertisements. He worked under a dozen pseudonyms, created such characters as Fighting Yank and Herbie Popnecker. He also wrote promotional comics, including the ones given away at Buster Brown shoe stores. And he died on the exact day my friend Mark was born. He died of bone cancer at the age of 63, and that death gave birth to my friend Mark. Born of the cancerous bone marrow. Now, okay, I'm going off on a weird tangent now. But is it the stories written by Richard Hughes that made the Black Terror so popular? No. I would say it's his appearance, which is created by penciler David Gabrielson. Penciler? He penciled and inked, so he's the full artist, okay? He worked on the Black Terror starting in 1941, as well as Quality Comics Kid Eternity in 1947. Other than that, I cannot find anything else about this man. But there is another artist credited here. His name is Elmer Wexler, and he is possibly the cover artist for these comics. But that's enough about that. Let's take a look inside the Black Terror, Nemesis of Evil. So we have drugstore owner and chemist hobbyist Bob Benton, right here in the blue suit, looking very much like Clark Kent. And he sticks up for this orphan boy named Tim Rowland. Pretty soon they're fast friends. And as Bob is experimenting with his chemicals, his new assistant, Tim, grabs the wrong one and mixes it up, and all of a sudden they've got formic acid vapors. At first Bob is very mad, but then he realizes it gives him super strength. He immediately decides he wants to become a superhero, and he sends young Tim off to get some costumes. Tim goes to the local theater and he gets them from an old theatrical play. One that's adult male-sized and one that's boy-sized. Both identical. I wonder what play used a character that looked like this. But check out this costume. Not only is it like a full black leather suit with boots and gold trim and everything with a Jolly Roger skull and crossbones, but it has this two-tone cape, blue on the outside and red underneath. Lots of awesome action and use of the new super strength. And since Tim got a costume for himself, he figures, well, I'll sniff the vapors too and develop super strength myself. Good thing he did too, because he just saved Bob from being tied up to the tracks like Sweet Polly purebred. And Bob jumps up and stops the train. Yes, their superhero names are Bob and Tim. Well, actually, Bob tells the bad guys he goes by the Black Terror. Tim does not get a name, but they just call each other by their real names in front of all the criminals. And now check this out. In civilian life, Bob likes this girl, Jean. Jean has a boyfriend. The boyfriend's always making fun of Bob, so now Bob, as the Black Terror, just knocks the boyfriend out and plants a kiss on Jean. Well, just like all women back in the 40s, once you force a kiss on them, they fall in love with you. And that'll be an ongoing theme throughout this series. And you can catch the next adventure in next month's Exciting Comics. I'd love to know what play this was. That brings us to issue 10. So this hardcover collection is only the Black Terror stories that were in these Exciting Comics anthology books. Turns out Bob needs to get a retail sales license, or else he's gonna be shut down. In order to get it, he needs to go see Big Ed Colahan at the Northside Political Club, who promptly just punches him in the face. Time to turn into the Black Terror and see what the heck is going on here. Well, I'll tell you what the heck is going on here. They didn't color the inside of his cape red. That's what's going on. Nothing like a little exercise to keep in trim. Keep in trim. Now there's a character. Jasper T. Jowls. More cool action. Look at the superhero just leaning off the rail, pondering. Next day, Bob gets himself into trouble, gets shot. It's time for Tim to come help him. Cab driver won't let him in, so he just throws him out of his own car and calls the adult man son. Sorry to get rough, son. Tim, you're a boy. A boy that's behind the wheel of another man's car. Son. And he comes, takes everyone out, rescues Bob. That's teamwork. So here's Jean again. She's actually the mayor's daughter, and her boyfriend, who Bob is kind of making fun of for him getting punched by the Black Terror. And look what he says. Black Terror? No, I ran into a door. If I ever meet that four-flusher again, you'll see who gets the black eye. What is a four-flusher? There it is again. So it's you. What are you trying to do? Commit suicide? Keep off that bridge, you four-flusher. I had to look it up. It's a term from poker. It refers to a person who bluffs. Oh, check this out. Okay, so you get the bridge getting demolished, the car going over, Black Terror saves it, saves everybody, then throws the car off, but all the people are safe, and that's where they write safe. It's an interesting little story element to just, okay, for this scene going forward, you know they're safe because I wrote it here, safe. Now on to issue 11. Oh, look, illustrated by Elmer Wexler. Okay, so I guess he wasn't just a cover artist. Maybe he drew some issues. A leap for life. Hey, we got some continuity going on. So he leaps onto this. You can see the paint can, the brush. Flip the page, paint can falling off, same with the brush. Next panel, it's pouring onto the canopy. Good job, Elmer. Next morning, later, atop the dam, caught. And look, it's like a kind of like a ribbon thing. Wow, getting fancy. And Bob punches this guy to his death right off the dam. That's it. Right in front of the boy. Boy, life was harsh back then. Jeepers, this is fun. Attaboy, Tim. Yeah. Holy gee. Suddenly the lights go on. I like these little things. Check out the size of that boulder coming down on the cars. And the Black Terror just punch explodes it into oblivion. That's the old pep. Ooh, I like the composition of this frame. That's just nice and interesting. Wow, the Black Terror just threw that giant truck 100 feet through the air. That's pretty impressive. Oh, wow. Okay, so he's trying to hold back the water in this busted dam, and the bad guys are going to shoot him. Jean sees it. She's, of course, in love with him because he force-planted that kiss on her, and she drives her car right through the bad guys. Kill them all! Wow. Tim races off on a motorcycle. It's raining the whole time. The dam busts through. Water's flooding everything. Black Terror saves everybody. My gosh, what an amazing story. And they bring in the bad guys for a full confession. Well, the survivor. Oh, no, he's dying. So that's it. And that brings us to issue 12. What do? Slip him the business? There's a phrase for you. Meanwhile, in the home of the chief of police, so the Black Terror sneaks in to the chief of police office, wants to talk to him about the bad guys he caught. The chief of police just shoots him dead, unmasks him, sees who he is, puts on his costume, goes after the bad guys himself, and is immediately killed. That's it. Tim ain't gonna stand for that. He takes everybody out. No, he doesn't. He gets knocked out too. But back at the chief's apartment, the bullet would have killed an ordinary man, but not the Black Terror. He somehow gets a costume again. I guess he got a lot of spares somehow in between stories of whatever theatrical character this was, and goes and rescues Tim. Okay, off on the bat boat. Woo! And it's time to toss some sailors around and end the story in a lab coat. Issue 13. And here we have the young boy Tim shooting a man right on the cover of the comic. Woo! Wrestling a tiger. Tiger uppercut. Tiger knee. Ooh, swinging like Tarzan. Man, a Tommy gun to the heart. So up until this point, Tim has always tried to come along on Bob's adventures as the Black Terror and the Little Terror. But Bob has always said, no, you stay back. Then Bob, of course, gets captured or knocked out. Tim has to wonder what's taking him so long, suit up and come after him. But now we have Bob for the very first time saying, get on your uniform, Tim. We're going places. Boy, oh boy, so now he's asking him to join in the fun. And holy cow, he looks happy. Ooh, they actually do battle a tiger. Wow. Both of them leaping on a car. This is pretty neat. And now issue 14. A great bound catapults the Black Terror upward. I must have pigeon blood in me. Never mind that. Mr. Starr, you must let me help you. What's this about Brand? Brand? The ward healer? The heck is a ward healer? I looked it up again. It's a person who assists in a political campaign. They had a whole different vocabulary 85 years ago. Oh, check it out. Okay, so you can see Tim putting the costume on. Somehow, he was able to put his gloves on before he finished putting the shirt on, which goes under the gloves, because he's still pulling the shirt down. The gloves are already on. I don't get it. I'm thinking too much about this. You know what, though? He must tuck that shirt down underneath his belt, and then it somehow doesn't pop back out with all their acrobatics. Again, I'm thinking too much about this. Tim is throwing people around. Bob is saving Gene from a fire. Again, lots of awesome action. He catches that car with one hand, gently places it down, knocks these two guys' heads together. Issue 15. Here's a bee for his bonnet. A little slingshot. Oh, wow. Who are they? It is the Death God and his progeny. Wow. How's that for a superhero duo? Could you imagine calling Batman the Death God and Robin is his progeny? The Death God. It's a double feature and bango tonight, boys. Vishnu save us. It's the Black Terror and his sidekick. See, his sidekick doesn't have a name yet. Stuff and what? Now that's a better name for a dynamic duo. Stuff and what? The Death God and his progeny, or Stuff and what? It is he whom they called the Black Terror and the Little Black Terror. Oh my God, Tim just got a name. The Little Black Terror. Boy, they're getting all kinds of names in this issue. This beats Punchball any day. I had to look that one up. That is a version of baseball popular in New York in the early 20th century with poor Jewish kids without a pitcher, a catcher, or a bat. You just hit the ball with your hand. Issue 16. So the gangsters are trying to muscle in on all the local businesses. This is a pretty cool composed scene right here. Looks like right out of a film. And they got the local grocery store guy. They destroyed his eyeball. Came into Bob's pharmacy for an eye patch for, I guess, what's left of whatever's in his socket now. Wow, Tim leaped right through a brick wall. And Bob jumps up to an airplane and tears off its landing gear with his bare hands. I wanted to queer your airport. What language is this? Issue 17. They're punching Nazis on the cover, but not inside. Meanwhile, a band of wreckers conspire in a lair. I want a lair. Wow. The Black Terror punches a man through the wing of a plane. Issue 18. Now they're knocking out Japanese stereotypes on the cover, but again, not on the inside. A certain planet was in transit across the sun. Lilith, the Dark Moon. I'm gonna have to check with Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson to see if that's a real thing. Issue 19. Another new planet is discovered. This one's called Devolio, and it actually has aliens that come to Earth. Now things are getting crazy. Oh, check it out. Flipping over cars, tearing open safes. They've got super strength. Oh, this is the first time the Terrors have to fight enemies with super strength. They don't seem to give them any trouble, though. Oh, but now they've traveled through space to the aliens world of Devolio. Ooh, alien animals. Gee Willikins. Gee Willikins. Oh, and they take over a rocket ship and travel back to the Earth. Cool. And land in the Old West? Hey kids, don't miss our next issue. And we'll finish with issue 20. And again, they didn't make the inside of the Black Terror's cape red. And now the Little Black Terror is blonde. And he's immediately brunette again. My shirt is red. My shirt is black. I got that reference. Okay, so these airplanes crash into each other, and this guy named Maddock falls from the crash to the earth on fire. Remember that guy. Okay, they find his body out there, and they find both of his arms and legs are broken, but he's still alive. They want to take him to the hospital. He says, no, just hide me. All right, so go bring back some bandages and splints. So check this out. Bob has always liked Jean. Jean has always looked down on Bob because he's a complete milquetoast wimp, especially when she compares him to the guy she really loves, the Black Terror, who of course is Bob. But now she's starting to soften up, and look how it turns out. I'm driving out past the airport, Bob. Wanna come? This is Bob's big chance. What does he say? I'm busy. Take Tim along. What the heck? And there she is, taking Tim. Okay, back to the story. You see this creature? This weird creature coming out of the dark? It captured Jean. The bad guys know who it is. They're calling it the Spider. And now they're releasing it on the Black Terror and his sidekick. Well, a talking spider. And they just knock it out. You know what it is? It's Maddock. They put splints on his broken arms and legs and threw him in a costume and have him hobble around as some creature called the Spider? What the heck? What a bizarre plot twist. But there you have it. That ends this book. Now, starting in February of 1942, the Black Terror also started appearing in another anthology comic from the same company called America's Best Comics. And exactly a year later, in February 1943, he got his own comic, The Black Terror. Also kind of an anthology. I mean, the first issue had 3 consecutive Black Terror stories, but then it also had 2 other stories, The Crime Crushers and Bobo the Hobo. But as you can see, this was a very popular character appearing in 3 separate comics, including his own title. And that comic would get a great writer, great artist. It continued with great success all the way till the end of the decade when all superhero comics fell out of favor. All 3 titles were canceled in 1949. The company went out of business in the early 50s. The characters went into public domain in the 80s. And he made his comeback in that comic I showed you in an earlier video called Project Superpowers. Oh, wait. No, I didn't. I said there was a comic called Project Superpowers that I needed to get. Well, I got it. But I did show that there was a spin-off of that, and it was a new Black Terror series. That's what I showed. And those are all from Dynamite Comics. Well, Volume 2 of these hardcovers, which will cover exciting comics issues 21 to 32, comes out in 1 month and 4 days, and I already have it on pre-order from my local comic store. Can't wait. Until next time.